Iran, sanctions-ridden and isolated globally, with a hardline theocratic regime which openly wishes that Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the US cease to exist. This nation is disturbed on all counts, a boiling pot of Islamic extremism. And as the economic distress mounts on the people of Iran, this nation is all set to slip further into the darkness. Hi, and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Shubhangi, and in this video, I shall tell you about Iran's presidential election, which is all set to make way for a fundamentalist hardliner even worse than the one before. Let's begin. The Iranian regime of the current day under President Hassan Rouhani has taken all the decisions to manage the extremist hardliner voices within his own moderate approach internationally, and it is due to that Iran's President Hassan Rouhani, who is a moderate voice in the political circles of Iran, is being scapegoated by the hardliners so that they and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps can further consolidate their control over the government. A globally isolated Iran is watching the rise of hardliners in the race for the upcoming presidential elections. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, are making sure that the coming elections are not a level playing field for the hardliners and moderates. And the Guardian Council of Iran has selected 7 candidates, largely hardliners, for next month's presidential election while rejecting numerous prominent hopefuls. It is here that we find Ebrahim Raisi, a hardliner and the head of the judiciary, who is now widely regarded as the obvious favorite to succeed Hassan Rouhani, a moderate. The election to succeed President Hassan Rouhani on June 18th is considered as a test of the country's clerical ruler's legitimacy, with high participation expected. Rouhani will not be able to run again due to term constraints. However, mounting unhappiness over the economy, which has been ravaged by US sanctions reimposed after Washington abandoned a nuclear deal with Iran 3 years ago, and the wrath of the COVID-19 pandemic has made the situation worse for the moderates, and the hardliners are using this opportunity to use the current president as a scapegoat to increase their control over Iran and slip it further into extremism. In this effort, they have propped up the more hardline candidate Ebrahim Raisi, as he is said to be elected as the new president. So the Judiciary Chief Ebrahim Raisi will now be seen as the clear frontrunner to succeed Hassan Rouhani when it comes to the clerics in Iran. Mr. Raisi is a cleric with close ties to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Raisi is a 60-year-old cleric in Iran's Shiite Muslim establishment, and he is a mid-ranking one at that. He was appointed head of the judiciary by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in March 2019 and has since risen as one of the country's most prominent politicians. I have come to form a strong people's government for a strong Iran with the help of the brave youth, Raisi said in a speech, apparently alluding to recent comments by Khamenei, who said he expected, and I quote, a capable and energetic government to come to power. The judiciary chief lost to Rouhani in the 2017 presidential election. However, things have changed a lot since, and going ahead, the moderate voices are getting muted as the current situation is giving a fighting chance to the hardliners. And add to that the fact that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are still in search of an opportunity to avenge the death of their top man, Qasem Soleimani. An extremist president is their best bid to have the revenge on Israel and the US. The rise of Ebrahim Raisi is a very concerning development, and while he is a favorite of the supreme leader of Iran, he will mute the moderate voices with much more rigor and hasten the process of developing nuclear warheads, further worsening the relationship with Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the US. Reformists and rights activists say they are alarmed by Raisi's background as a hardline judge, especially during the 1980s when he was one of the 4 judges who imposed death penalties on thousands of political prisoners. Due to the disqualification of the less hardline contenders, Iran's presidential election has practically become a one-horse race. the most hardline of the allowed candidates, Ebrahim Raisi, is almost expected to win. It appears that a landslide is already being planned for him. The Revolutionary Guard-backed farce news agency released the results of a quote-unquote reliable opinion survey which predicted a turnout of about 53% and Mr. Raisi winning 72% of the vote. He appears to be the only serious contender on whom hardliners may agree to avoid a conservative vote split. With the IRGC and Ayatollah trying to gain absolute control via hardliners and hastening the process of nuclearization of Iran, as well as their thirst for revenge against the killing of Qasem Soleimani, the situation in the Middle East is only bound to heat up.